Thank you, Mr. Amarasinghe, for that interesting session. You guys remember the rules of the army? Well, they also apply very much in our households. Because if my married colleagues here would confirm, the wife is always right. So it's time to recognize our sponsors who've helped make this event a success. Our corporate sponsors are Sri Lanka Insurance Corporation. The silver sponsors are Tech Zone Private Limited. Official photographers are Fujiyama Color Lab. And the educational media partners are Learn TV. It's time for the panel discussion. So I'd now like to invite our moderator for the day, Mr. Samantha Ratnayaka, to give a brief outline of him. Mrs. Ratnayaka is a management consultant and a human resource development trainer, an executive council member of Sri Lanka Institute of Training and Development and Institute of Management. He is also a vice president at the Institute of Quality and Productivity Management, where he is also the chair of the Strategic Direction Committee. Here at CPM, he serves as the head of Education and Training Committees. With over 15 years of management and learning solutions experience in diverse sectors, including the Food and Agricultural Organization of the United Nations, ICICI Bank India, and Sri Lanka Institute of Marketing, he is also a visiting faculty member of the Chartered Institute and Postgraduate Institute of Management. Our other panelist is Mr. Ajit R. De Costa, who is a human resource management professional with over 20 years of experience in leading organizations. He is presently serving as the DGM Performance Management at Sri Lanka Telecom. He is also a past president of IPM Sri Lanka and is also a visiting lecturer. Mrs. Primrose Mascarenhas, with over 30 years of hands-on experience in HR and management in the public, government, semi-government, and NGO sectors, she is an experienced professional who has held many senior positions. Her current position is as Director, Ramtop Enterprises. Her vision for the future is to add value to the HR industry as well as to society in whichever role that she undertakes. Our final panelist for the day, Mr. Azmi Sali. He holds a Bachelor of Arts degree from the University of Peradeniya, accompanied by various associate memberships, such as from the Sri Lanka Institute of Training and Development, CPM, Institute of Leadership and Management, and Insurance Institute of India. He is also a certified NLP practitioner and is reading for the Master of Human Resource Management at Colombo University. He currently serves as a Senior Manager Learning and Development at Amana Thakaful PLC. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could please take your seats.
Thank you. First, let me thank Professor Lakshman Arwatola, President of CPM and the Executive Council. Let me congratulate Mr. Darshan Amarasinghe for his wonderful presentation. I think he has done a great justice to the presentation. In terms of key areas, he highlighted, he spoke about the errors of both planning versus execution, and he on the same time added the barriers of both sides. Particularly, he highlighted the concept that integration is the key in terms of thinking and how this thinking can be aligned. And whereas he highlighted at the end of the presentation a very important area, that is called what to do. Actually, tips which he has put in capital letter. I would like to put an acronym for that. Actually, he spoke about FCP, that is focus, competence and passion. So that's what he has added, and at the end of the presentation he has summed up. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, now as you know, in this topic, planning versus executing, what is your call? As you know, in terms of, in general, say if you look at countries like America, in general, they sometimes, for the planning time, it would be slow, a short period, whereas execution might be hurried. Whereas Japanese in reverse, on the other hand, to be considered as taking more time for planning, but execution is very fast. So whereas this controversy, this dilemma goes on in international business. In terms of CEOs in USA, Fortune 500 companies, they are finding that nearly about 80% of CEOs fail because of not their strategy, but because of their execution. We have a panel here, and you might be aware that in this panel, actually, originally we wanted to have 4 panelists other than the presenter. I will tell you that it is also part and parcel of this planning versus execution. We got one panelist out due to unavoidable reasons. Anyway, we have 3 panelists. Now, the game plan for this moderation session, my job is quite easy, but in terms of the engagement with you, ladies and gentlemen, let me first start with the panelists with their opening remarks by taking about 2 to 3 minutes each one. Then, of course, you have this question coupon also. You can write your questions and send. On the same time, it is there on your table, in your chair. At the same time, you can raise questions directly to the panel, and of course, Mr. Amar Singh also here. So that is the plan. So let me begin with Mr. Di Costa. Actually, you are one of the past presidents of IBM also. You have engaged in multiple projects, national level projects and so on. So you have had a lot of experience in terms of working with the diverse groups in the council and so on. So with that and with your job, I would like to listen to your opening remarks.
Thank you, Samantha. With this limited time frame, I think the experience sharing of this, how I was successful in planning and execution, I would like to take example from, I started my career from IT industry and shifted subsequent to the HR. Then as a first HR job about 15 years back, I started with small dairy company which have very medium scale industry, which have only 200 people, because I joined that organization because of invitation of managing director of the company. Then I can remember very well, other than companies, after that I worked 5-6 companies, but first company which I joined, I planned lot of things, lot of HR initiatives I have taken, but execution was very easy, and I was very comfortable to execute most of the things because I had the blessing of managing director. Then managing director has given full support to execute whatever things I planned, and that was my success story, which I can remember very well how I was able to. But most of the things explained by Darshana, I think I was able to use during that about 3 years. That within that 3 years, I was able to. That's having a good support from the MD, and there was a good ground level support to the all execution, and not only that, there was a very good team effort. That management around 50 people was in the top management. Then with that 50 people, there were around 250 worker level and medium level staff. Then all together we were able to handle. This is actually that during that time it was a just break-even point company, but after 3 years there was a very good growth because of the HR initiatives. That is, I think that's other than that, there were so many projects I handled during before becoming a president of the ITM. That was successful. I think Primrose was one of the committee member in my during vice president tenure. Then we did lot of projects during that time because of the teamwork, and that's whatever plan we had a support from council. That's my sharing for the session.
So predominantly you are highlighting that your team effort and the support from the leadership made the path easy and comfortable for your execution. Well, let's explore that. I think definitely that audience would have more questions on that. Let's turn to Ms. Primrose. Now, according to your profile, that you have been in diverse fields in state sector, semi-government, NGO, and so on. What is your opening call on this topic here?
Thank you, Samantha. Actually, with the limitation of the given time, I will just brief you. I was educated in St. Mary's College, Avisavella and St. Anne's Convent, Vattala. And soon after my primary education, I had to join the office as the office trainee, but not as a management trainee. And all my higher education I had to do external, not internal, because that was, I think, vision of my father. So I have to listen to my father. And all these places, I joined the plantation, and I was in the public sector, public administration. So then, thereafter, I was in the semi-government, and after leaving that, I joined the private sector. I was in so many fields in garment, manufacturing and services, both trades. Manufacturing, of course, ceramic garments like that, services in the educational educational and hospitality trade like that. All these places, how I achieved my target. Now, planning versus execution. What I did was, when I joined all these places, I came to the, out of 36 years, my working experience, over 18 years as a senior managerial experience, how I achieved was, when I joined all the places, when I had to do planning, I assumed that there was no predecessor in my organization. That's what I started, and I did my planning, but it was a participative system. Because I am new to the organization, I have to listen to everybody. I have to have my observations before opening my mouth to take all the procedures and policies or whatever adopted. What I did was, I did the study, and it was a participative thing. So then I came to know about the culture and the history and all things about the organization, but I assumed the duties and started as a no predecessor in my position. So then it was very good, and not in a theoretical but practically, when I talk about all the employees, I used to tell the management, I am there for the management, but I am the person who is balancing the employer and the employee. Therefore, I need to have the communication and PR skills with the employees. So in such case, I was able to achieve the organizational all the objectives, because all the employees were there with me in all the organizations. When there was a tight schedules, then the shipments and everything, workers are working day and night, and last moment if I go and request as the HR person, they say, Hari madam, Hari miss කියලා නිසා අපිට බෑ කියන්න බෑ, අපි කරන්නම් මේක. That's the way I achieved my targets. Thank you.
Right, so quite interesting. Now, is it that you're highlighting about some assumptions and on the same time participatory model? But as you said that, I think Darshan also highlighted that point, developing that we understood the empathy and the connection with people. That might be one of the reasons. Let's explore that further. Mr. Azmi, now you are experiencing running learning development, quite the new area. Actually, I say that you're also bringing diverse experience to your current job. But at the same time, the planning is, I think, to be spot on, because if the learning initiatives are not in place, that your entire plan would go astray. So, how is your take upon this?
Yeah. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think it's a place where we need to explore some hidden facts with regard to planning and execution. As a result of wrong plans, execution suffers. As a result of wrong execution, again execution suffers. So, end of the day, I think we need to shed light on execution part. From my point of view, Execution is based on a triangle. It actually is not a theory. Since I'm coming from a technical background of insurance, if you want to have fire in a premises, you need to have three aspects. It's a triangle. You need to have fuel, you need to have ignition, then oxygen. If you miss one thing, you can't have fire. The same way, if you want to execute a plan properly, and if you want to execute a plan for results, you need to focus on three aspects. The first one is, when you design the plan, you must have a proper mechanism for you to monitor. That's the first one. The second one is VFM. I don't know whether you know this or not. VFM. WIIFM. What's in it for me? When you say plan, it's a teamwork. When you say execution, again, it's a teamwork. So, in a team, you have members, you have individuals. You need to ask, every individual asks whether I have a benefit in this or not. What's in it for me? If you can answer this particular question, you can execute your plan in a proper way. This is the second one. The third one is, when you say the plan is the starting point, the execution is the ending point. Between these points, you have a strategy. You have a strategy. Okay, so execution has to be planned as a strategy for you to achieve your goals and your objectives. I think that is my thought, some.
Well, that's quite interesting. I think Darshan has touched in holistically, and he has given a different perspective for that. So, what is in it for me? This acronym stands for. In fact, he spoke, I think, in the other sense, the accountability and so on. So, each one should know. But at the same time, he added one sentence. Particularly, he says that execution to be also planned well. So that is also very, very important. Right, before we go through some other questions, so all panel members, including Darshana, are waiting to answer your questions. It's open for you. Still we have not received any questions. If you are interested, please write some questions and send. But on the same time, I think there's a mic. There's a mic. You can raise your question. Oh, since this, even you can show your hands and raise a question. Yes, gentlemen.
My question for the panel is, what is the difference between management and leadership? Let's say in an organization, you have an individual position which is actually documented to be a leadership position. So there might be conflicts with the management question. So what's your say?
I think Darshana can take a short answer.
Which plan?
See, I mean, you want me to answer this on theory on book, or you want me to answer it practical?
Practical.
Yeah, because you can draw a T and show this is leadership, this is management, and you will see what you call managers push people to get things done, leaders pull things to get things done, right? Managers force people to do it, leaders lead by example, all that is theory. For me, you can't manage if you don't have leadership skills. So today there is no difference between manager and leadership, right? So I think this came in an era where long time ago where you managed a process. So that's where you had this manager and leader difference. So today you don't have a difference between manager and leader. Basically, very simple, my answer to your question is that you cannot manage if you don't have leadership skills. So for me today, leadership is a fundamental to manage. But if you go through the what I teach is quite different. I go by the syllabus, there is a difference here, there is a manager on this side, there is a leader. But fundamentally you can't manage if you don't have leadership skills.
My subsequent question for that is when you take the financial sector, it's under governance rules and regulations. So there will be clashes in the leadership. if you formulate a leadership position, because normally the financial sector it's a top-down approach in Sri Lankan perspective, mostly in the government institutions.
Sorry, I don't think I understand.
They have what you call circulars, legislations. So we have to go by them. So if you are having a leadership position, that's a little bit of challenge.
Okay, so yeah, so my answer to that is any leader has to work with the frame of rules and regulations and guidelines. So banks have central bank and insurance has IBSA. And the challenge is that. The challenge is that. So classical example I'll tell you, that is where the leadership is tested. So classical example is in life insurance, the regulator has said you have to have a component of life insurance. Otherwise you can't have a total investment going into the bank space. Right? Now the challenge for the leader is how do you come up with competitive products that has that life insurance element plus that investment element and still compete with the bank. So I don't think ever leaders are there to challenge the regulator. They will have to work within a framework. But the leader's challenge and the innovation and his power comes, how can we work within this legislative framework and yet win?
I think this leadership and management, as Darshan said, that requires a lot of more time to discuss about theoretical grounds and so on and so forth. But if you sum up in just 2 sentences, management is all about processes, tasks and jobs and so on, whereas the leadership is all about people, the phenomenon factor. But in terms of the state sector, before I move to this question, may I ask Primrose, now have you come across such scenarios in terms of statutory restrictions make you work like restricted and so?
Actually, now in our country, in our island, there is a talk like that private sector employees or the management or whoever it is more efficient than the government public sector. It's not that. Public sector, we have the most effective and efficient all the government officers with SLAs and all the grades exam pass, and only thing is, as that gentleman stated, there are so many circulars and they are adhered to in given instructions they are supposed to follow, and they are very well answerable. So there's a frame, that's what he explained very well. So in such case, to overcome that situation, you have to go through the proper channel to your top management and convince your data or whatever views or whatever in writing and get the proper approval and do that. Then only that you can achieve the targets. Because in private sector, if you are so smart, now those days when you give the service letter, when a person is vacating the employee, then he was a hard worker, hard working. Now it's not that, it's a smart worker. It's a smart worker, it's a smart working. Nowadays it's like that. So in such a case, you are supposed to do more communication to your top management and get all the written approval, and then you have to process your this thing, and also the input or whatever your plan process, and not the output. You have to think about the outcome. Output is something, but outcome is something. Nowadays you have to think about the smart working and outcome.
Before the next question comes, there's a very interesting, the first question from this chat. I think Darshan, I would like to direct to you. This is very interesting. If the planning is done by a selected group in watertight compartment kind of a scenario, but not communicated to executives. So then the question asks that what results can be achieved? Right? If the situation is such, what could be the results, the repercussions, the other side?
Nothing. Simple answer, one word answer. See, watertight compartment is just one word, but what I'm trying to say is, what is your watertight compartment? I'm not saying that planning, you need to bring everybody to the planning process. You have to know whom to bring for what. So, watertight compartment, if I'm understanding you right, is a certain group of people who is isolated from the others, does the plan, and somebody executing the plan, I'm sorry, it won't go too far. But at the same time, what I want to tell you is that planning cannot be open to everyone. It's just that you need to get representation. So for example, if IT is not required, don't get their representation. But for a certain idea, if IT representation is required, they need to come. Is finance required for it? And also you should know whom to represent. Very important. So representation is important, cross-functional departmental representation is important, but I don't think you can make a planning team with too many people also, because you will not be able to achieve a consensus. Achieving a consensus is very important in planning, otherwise it will just drag on the process and you will never achieve a result.
Yeah, I think that's a vital point, that all can't take part, but the representation is very vital. Well, before you, yes, please.
For the integration, which is a very good thing, because as you say, execution is always successful, but not always. Of course, in practical sense, most of the failures are due to executors and planners are working in separate compartments. What is your opinion, about doing a pilot project? You do a plan, but you don't implement it, right? You don't execute it. You do a pilot scenario so that you save this cost. What is you think that will be a better scenario than bringing in executors into the planning process, and then we may or may not work sometimes. But when you do pilot process, you save a lot of results. For example, I was in the energy sector, and where most of the things are put in the roadway. What happened? Feasibility was not done.
Pilot projects are just an addition to integration. That's how I look at it. Why I say that is, in the absence of the execution team integration in the planning, you're doing a pilot, your chances of your pilot failing is greater. So, if you get the execution team involved in the planning process, probably there's a greater chance that your pilot project will work. There's another scenario. What do you pilot on? Piloting is probably for external acceptance. Integration is for internal acceptance and feasibility internally. So both achieve two objectives. But having said that, I do agree with you. Once again, I'm going back to my same point again. Whom do you bring into planning should be very selectively done. Otherwise, it's not an approach where you make everybody happy. So that's why it's very important to get the representation from those departments and get the idea. So people who come to your planning boardroom will be people who have thorough insights, is able to communicate clearly, is able to articulate clearly, and also more importantly be rational without asking for everything. Can I tell that 1-2 things that has an impact? Piloting will further qualify it before implementation. You save resources.
Well, I would like to draw your attention, Mr. Costa, now, when it comes to a working scenario where council, diverse people are involved and so on, not necessarily refer to the IPM or so on, but how do you strike a balance between this planning into execution? Because diverse views are being diluting your execution plan, so multiple demands. Can you share 1 or 2 experiences?
Yeah, when you have council with diverse viewpoints, then sometimes as a president or chairman of that particular council have a difficult to manage, but still if you have a trust that person who is come to the main seat, that person who is handling the council have a good integrity and honesty, then sometimes you can manage lot of things without conflicts. That is the trust-based management. That's with that you can do execution. You can make it successful when you have that kind of character. That is depends on the person. That some people that sometimes even if you go to the some occasions of professional council, there are a lot of conflicts. Then internal politics, then that is depends on the person who is coming to the leadership. That's my point of view.